What's up, everybody? Welcome to yet another unannounced edition of Mob True Crime. Please hit the like button, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. We're going to get right to it. Today, we have a very important topic tied to the last week's events with El Mencho. The topic is how our best friends, our friends in Israel, our best friends, we'll call it best friend land, helped Mexican underworld corporations thrive. And today, I'm going to be getting into some real heavy stuff that has to do with how these operations work and why they've been able to stay maintained. The question of the day you can leave in the comments, whether you're watching it now or whether you watch the replay, is how should the ties between our best friends, their mobsters, and our friends south of the borders, underworld mobsters, corporations, be handled by the USA and American law enforcement? You're going to see here that there's a lot of stuff with these guys. And you'll see that the guys south of the border cannot operate without the heavy level of intelligence and the other stuff that they've been offered. These things, and there's a whole list of them. As you'll recall, when I did the video last week, I was live. I was looking at the Mencho videos from X, and I noticed that a bunch of his guys were carrying tovars. Tovars are these things that they're made in best friend land. And so I dug a little bit deeper, and sure enough, you see that there's a lot of stuff with best friend land. So I got to use certain words because we love to be YouTube friendly. So first off, Mob True Crime, follow us on social media. We're also on Mob and Organized Crime TV. It's myself. Usually Michael's with me. McCallie's with me, but he's busy during the weekend, so we do our stuff during the week together. And so into the topic here. So I follow quite a few really good guys that report from south of the border, and I also follow the media from Israel because that's where you can get a lot of really important things that you will not find in the American media typically. And so I am encouraging you guys to follow. I'll just give you the names of one or two sources here. There's a guy named Jose Nino from Unfiltered Politics. The guy is really, really smart, and he does some good stuff. Here's his X page, just so you guys can see it. And he did a post the other day. El Mencho is deleted. The real question, who helped turn the sieging into a paramilitary, corporation, we'll say, underworld corporation, and why nobody talks about the connection with best friend land. So I'm going to start off with putting some things out from his actual article. And so, his article that he put out the other day on his blog, it's called Blood, and then this stuff here, and the Star of David. And he gets into how Israeli arms training and spyware pipelines that turned these underworld corporations south of the border into paramilitary armies. So, on February 26th, 2020, February 22nd, 2026, the Mexican government announced the most significant blow to organized crime in a generation. That would be, the handling of El Mencho. And of course, there was a lot of stuff that happened, and as a result, which we've already gone under. And then, he asked the question, how did the sieging become one of the most operationally sophisticated criminal armies on planet Earth, and who trained them? The answer, buried in Mexican intelligence files, DEA debriefs, witness testimony, and international ARMS trafficking, points to an uncomfortable and largely unexamined reality. For over 2 decades, Israeli nationals, including former intelligence operatives, organized you-know-what figures, and arms guys, have been entangled in the machinery of Mexico's most you-know-what corporations. They have laundered money, they smuggle these things, train recruits, and they sell surveillance tech to corrupt officials, and also they sheltered fugitives. And so one thing he does, he starts off, in order to really understand the situation, you have to go back to a very crucial takedown of a couple of Israelis. There's a couple of major Israeli figures down there. They're no longer alive. And the way that started was, so on a warm afternoon in July of 2019, 2 men sat down for lunch at a restaurant inside Plaza Arts Pedregal, one of the most upscale shopping centers in Mexico City. Benjamin Yeshurun Suchi was 44 years old. Alan Azule was 41. Both were Israeli citizens. Both had extensive criminal records back home. Suchi was described by Israeli media as an underworld legend. I'll show his picture right now here. So this guy here, this is Suti right here. And so this is from Israeli media. This is the Times of Israel, which is a good publication if you want good stories on this stuff. They get into how, he was taken out and how it worked. And then the other guy mentioned is this dude in the middle. And I'll carry on with the article. So they were sitting there having lunch, and so he was described as an underworld legend involved in gang wars. He did these things to people. He took out other Israeli, mob guys, and fled to Israel in 2001 while on furlough from a sentence for deleting somebody. They never finished their meal. A woman approached their table and opened up, pulled out a deleting both of them in a brazen takedown in broad daylight. Mexico's security minister, Alfonso Durazo, subsequently confirmed that both men were linked to money laundering ops and tied to OC. And then the details came out further later. So they had been helping out the sieging for a long time. They were laundering their money. They established front companies across Oaxaca, Puebla, Guanajuato, Querétaro. For those of you, if you speak Spanish, forgive the pronunciation if I get one or two wrong, and Mexico City. Cell phone records recovered by investigators showed that the sieging organized the meeting with the Israelis at the mall. And they tracked the Israelis' phones and movements and determined it was possible to get rid of them because they had alleged that they either tried to rob or they tried to defraud the sieging. And that's what triggered the takedown. So later investigation revealed that a woman known as La Guerra managed financial operations for sieging for El Mencho. She was the one who set up the meeting, and she orchestrated the takedown after something went wrong with the money laundering operation. A sieging operative known as El Viejon directed the guys that carried the you-know-whats out to handle the business. And Gabriel Regino, a former Mexican security official turned lawyer who had previously arrested this same Israeli in 2005, said that this was not a crime of passion, which is how they tried to cover it when they got arrested. They tried to pretend like this was some affair gone wrong, and eventually they discovered that it had nothing to do with anything like that. That this was one for a underworld corporation. So anyhow, so shortly after this happened, Interpol announced the arrest of Erez Krishveshki in the state of Quintana Roo. That guy there, he was one of Israel's most wanted, having been convicted in 1998 of an attempted deletion of a father and son, as well as forgery. He escaped during a 48-hour prison furlough in 2001, fled to Argentina, where he was caught in 2004. Then he fled again while on bail, and Interpol stated that he was believed to travel throughout the Americas over the next decade, often to Mexico, and was allegedly connected to activity there, as well as Israeli organized guys that operate down there too. So anyhow, they become business partners. The Plaza takedown shocked the public. Again, it's a very rich part of Mexico City, but Mexican intelligence was not shocked. The administration revealed that Israeli groups have been active in Mexico since going back to at least the year 2000, involved in money laundering, and they also moved tovars and other higher powered you-know-whats. So this stuff is some real stuff here. Yeah, this is live. What's up, Mio? Hit the like button. Yeah, this is live. I'm doing this right now, so I appreciate it. So anyhow, going back to our article here. The article's almost done. I'm going to be showing you some other stuff here too, related. So the whole takedown was a shock to the public. They've been around, the best friend mob, we'll call it. They've been around since at least 2000. They launder cash. They do some, sales of tovars and other high-powered, you-know-whats. And between 2000 and 2010, Israeli best friend mobsters collaborated directly with the Beltran Leyva guys, which was I don't think they're around anymore. They kind of broke up after they got nailed, supplying them with those same services. And around 2013, Mexican intelligence authorities learned the real scope of what best friend mobsters were doing in there, primarily in Mexico City. And then they had a lot of intelligence on these guys inside the Los Zetas, that in the state they had them in Veracruz, Hidalgo, and other states. They figured out that former intel guys from Best Friend Land were actually operating in the country, which means there's a connection to the government over there. So anyhow, they supplied them with all this military stuff. And they also, so the Zetas, they were around, through the 2000s and 2010s. They were obviously, involved with a lot of that stuff there. They were trained, of course, in America, the 7th Special Forces Group at Fort Bragg, North Carolina. And, they were given map reading courses, communications, standard special forces training, light to heavy weapons, machines, and automatic these too. So anyhow, there was foreign specialists working with these guys, Americans, French, and Israelis. They instructed them how to handle deployments and aerial stuff, marksmanship, all kinds of stuff, intelligence collection, etc. And they defected to the Gulf Cartel in 1997, forming the Zetas, and they carried out a lot of these operations, paramilitary style, etc. They did a lot of stuff in Mexico against the government itself. So anyhow, the weapon stuff, there's very tangible evidence of the Best Friend Land connection. So 2020 multi-country investigation by Global Exchange and American Friends Service Committee documented that between 2006 to 2018, Israeli firms sold 24,280 of these to Mexican police forces at a cost of around 34 million. I'm going to assume that's going to be shekels most likely. The arsenal included 16,442 Galil and Tavor. Tavors were the ones I noticed the other day on these guys. So Tavor rifles and thousands of Jericho Jericho brand hand you know what's. So there's 9,000 pages of declassified Mexican Army documents that detail all this stuff. There was around 2,600 of these rifles went to the police forces of Guerrero, Jalisco, and Tamaulipas, and about 60% of illegal weapons confiscated nationwide. There was like 61,000 illegal ones recovered by the Mexican Army from 2010 to 2020. And then there was also 41 of them were linked directly to crime scenes across multiple states. And so going through here, there was a lot of young people taken down, journalists. There was a lot of stuff that happened there. And these were supposed to go to law enforcement, but, you know, in Mexico, they end up with a lot of these guys that are, you know, crooks. So fast forwarding it through, when it came to the luxury tower situation, Tomas Cerron de Lucio, he was the head of their FBI for many years. Later, he was accused of doing a lot of stuff, evidence tampering, and, you know, doing stuff to students. And I'm not talking about touchy. I'm talking about the stuff that's very, like, you see in those crazy videos. And was discredited. He embezzled over 1.1 billion pesos, which is 50 million bucks, for the purchase of defense and gear. And he took that for himself. And then he later fled to Israel in 2019, and now he lives in a luxury apartment in Tel Aviv. He's still there to this day. They refuse to extradite him back. They've slow walked it for a lot of stuff, and one of it has to do with they're not happy with some of Mexico's comments on what's going on over there in Gaza. Different situation, but there's a lot of reasons, but they're basically protecting the former head of Mexico's FBI over in Tel Aviv. Probably a lot of stuff that he was involved with. So, and this is the guy right here. Let me let's see. This guy, this is Tomas Cerron. This is the guy right here that's sitting in. He's enjoying life in Tel Aviv, and I doubt that he's going to be coming back. This too is from Times of Israel, which is a good publication for this stuff. So anyhow, getting this wrapped up here so that I can get back to my day. Sunny day in California, by the way, nice and sunny. It's great out here right now. So anyhow, Cerron himself integrated Pegasus into Mexico's law enforcement, tracking stuff, all that, right? Spyware, and Israeli intel was involved, and it was supposed to help, you know, Mexico fight these underworld corporations. Instead, it was turned against the very people trying to hold the the people accountable for it, and the corrupt government officials that they wanted to, you know, that they were going to try to, you know, hold accountable too. So, a lot of shadowy situations between best friend land and south of the border land, their groups. And because our media is largely corporate controlled, it's also aligned with best friend land type interests. There's no way that they're going to report on this stuff. So the best place to find this stuff is in Mexican media, and then also in media from best friend land. And so, you know, there's a lot of guys that a lot of people just blame the U.S. and others for this stuff, or even the CIA, but a lot of this is actually done by foreign groups that aren't even here. The CIA folks, that they do their stuff, but even they will have certain limits. One reason why you're not going to see them running a lot of stuff in mass down there is because what happens if they are running these things and a DEA or an FBI operative south of the border gets handled? You know, it's one thing to have a public scandal because the CIA can just brush it off and whatever. But when you have other federal agencies that have a problem with you because you supplied something that happened, that's a different type of scandal altogether. And that's one of those things that does lead to guys, you know, in the CIA getting dealt with and having to, you know, heads roll basically. But this here is a great article. I'm not going to go through it, but it talks about how journalists and others who've reported on this stuff have ended up, deleted. And so there's, believe me, there's a lot of good people south of the border that want to report this stuff. They want to put this out there. They try, and it costs them. It costs them a substantial thing called living. And so this here again, this is the guy, the head of Mexico's, the former head of Mexico's equivalent of the FBI. He is in Tel Aviv enjoying the sun over. I don't know if today's a sunny day. Who knows? Maybe there's things lobbing back and forth between the Iranians and I don't know. I have to go check the news again. So maybe Tel Aviv is having a good day. Maybe it isn't. I heard they took down. I saw the news that they took down. The Ayatollah and other guys. I'm not a fan of these foreign things, but it is what it is. It's not like we can really stop this stuff. So, but he's over there. He's in Tel Aviv. And then these guys, these two, though, right here, these guys were integral in, they were part of the Israeli best friend mob, and they were integral with the guys south of the border. And they go back a long way. There's a lot of collaboration between those groups down there. And so it's it's a situation that's volatile. It's not a good thing. My advice to everybody is don't do any of the illegal stuff that these people sell. The single way that you can shut this stuff down is by choosing not to mess around. If you want to shut it down, don't mess around. That's my rhyme of the day for this stuff. That's the only way. The governments are not going to be able to stop it. It's unfortunate that there's no way that especially when you have intelligence level guys, and then you have high level best friend mobsters, many of whom are connected with intelligence over there in the Mideast, working with the guys south of the border, simply not going to stop most of this stuff. So the only way we can stop it is to not consume it. Do not use it. Make sure you help others get off of this stuff, and make sure that you do things to prevent new people from getting involved with it. So that's my advice today. I do work to, help out people in treatment. I myself, in 2012, I had my situation, and I went to, I got help. I went to AA meetings and stuff like that. It was better. It was good for me. I don't really mess around. The last number of years, it's probably less than 20 times that I even consume alcohol or anything like that. So, it is what it is. Just don't consume these products. Live your best life. Do well, succeed, and thrive. Be in business and be about business, which is what I do. Subscribe to our channels. Check our other social media, Mob and Organized Crime TV, Mob True Crime. Again, today's topic was how our best friends in best friend land help the south of the border land people and their underworld businesses and corporations thrive. Question of the day: how should the ties between best friend land guys and south of the border guys be handled by the USA? They obviously have to do something, but I think in many ways it's too difficult to solve at the government level. They can certainly keep trying, and with Fent, you got to do something, because there's no way that stuff should ever be on the open market. And I don't believe the other stuff should even be near the stock market stuff. If we have some kind of a medicalized program or something, you should be absolutely away from the business world and away from anything private industry that could end up proliferating the usage of it and the abuse problems. So follow us on social media. We have our IGs listed here, and then I do have a TikTok and some other stuff that I've added, and I'll be throwing some more stuff in there. If you like this good style of reporting and putting out information like this that you normally don't see on YouTube, and you, quite frankly, you don't see in this genre, whatever this genre really is, You have a few guys that get into legit stuff, but most of these people just argue with each other. They thrive off of drama. They live stream every day, and they're always going to be capped at 1,000 to 2,000 views, and that's on a good day. That's just how it is. They can get 80, 100 people in their chat arguing with people and that kind of stuff. But these guys live stream all the time, and they get nowhere. Fanboys, the humps, stuff like that. That's why don't even mess with those guys. Don't even pay them any attention. This kind of thing will last a lot longer, and we're getting the algorithms moving again. In the meantime, help us out. You can do super stickers. You can send a cash app. It's listed right there. Only do so if you appreciate good information getting out there. So once again, and also I'm restarting the website. It's going to be different than before. It's going to be focused more on the channel, and McCallie and myself. Our good interviews are going to be on there. Soft White, 175,000 views. Matt Cox, we've both been on there. McCallie has I think 80,000 views on Matt Cox, and those are going to be up there. Make sure that you support that. And so let's see. I think make sure I showed each and every screen just so that. So I'm going to show Jose Nino one more time. So this is his account on X, Unfiltered Politics. The guy does some really good stuff, and he himself does some things that are direct, because a lot of his stuff is very explicit and probably not quite YouTube friendly. So he does private, I think Substack and things like that. But he has a website. I encourage you guys to take a look at that if this kind of thing interests you. So appreciate it, you guys. We're getting the momentum going. This time next year, there's going to be 50,000 subs or more on this channel, and there's going to be a good number of people in the live streams. Stay away from drama, and make sure that you guys, do this the right way. And let's see here. Here, I'm going to play our outro just to show our sponsors here. Casinos in Motion, best place for casino action at your house, charity events, public events, all for fun in Southern California. Thank you so much, and hit the like button on your way out.